The following is an encore presentation of U.S. Modernist Radio, underwritten by Diane Bald and the Budman family, restoring significant architecture in Toronto, Los Angeles, Malibu, and Palm Springs.
Hi, I'm Ron Cappy of Cappy Architects in Northern California, and you are listening to U.S. Modernist Radio.
Mama don't allow no architecture around here. Mama don't allow no architecture around here. Oh, I don't care what Mama don't allow, gonna draw mine modern anyhow. Mama don't allow no architecture around here.
Welcome to U.S. Modernist Radio, where we talk and laugh with people who enjoy, own, create, dream about, preserve, love, and hate modernist architecture, the most exciting and controversial buildings in the world. Today, we welcome Meghann Salamasick, owner of the Ferris Bueller house. Yes, the one that had a Ferrari in it. Plus, we also have guest co-host Bob Langford in the studio.
Hi, Bob.
I once had a Ferrari, and then I woke up.
And now, although he completely blew an introduction to one of the most knowledgeable and well-known architecture curators and professors in the world, that would be Barry Bergdahl, here's your host, George Smart.
Thank you, Tom. Yes, I kind of blew it. I was at this great party, actually, at the Philip Johnson Glass House in New Canaan, Connecticut.
Whoa.
And a good friend of mine sees me going across the yard. I've got my hands full of these little tiny picnic baskets, kind of like Yogi the Bear. And I'm balancing glasses of liquid on top of the picnic basket. So I've got a balancing act.
That sounds bad already.
Design flaw pops into my head.
And he summons me to go over to introduce me to this guy sitting next to him. And I only got the first name. I got Barry. So I say, like, hi, Barry, how you doing? What brings you here? What do you do? And he's looking at me like I'm the complete idiot, because Barry Bergdahl is very accomplished and very well known throughout the entire architectural community. So I look like the Goofus of Goofus and Gallant. Like,
That's a far more obscure reference
Highlights
than
for
Barry
children? Oh, my God.
So, Barry, I'm really sorry. And by this point, I will have already been in touch and apologize to you. But my blood drained from my system when I found out about that.
All right. Now we're in my wheelhouse. Movies I've seen more than a dozen times. It's a small set, but one of them is definitely Ferris Bueller's Day Off. For those of you who haven't seen the movie, quick recap. Close up. Ferris. Oh, you don't want me to be that detailed?
Don't go us line by line, Bob. Just
Right.
give us the overview.
Ferris Bueller's pretending to be sick.
He's a high school student.
Yes, he's a senior in high school, and his parents believe him. And Ferris turns to the camera and says, they bought it. And from there, the escapade begins. Ferris needs his cohorts. He needs Cameron Fry, a guy who's always sick and always depressed. He tells him, come on, Ferris, we're going to have fun. Do you know what my diastolic is? That's his line. And he picks up his girlfriend at school, Sloane Peterson. But they have to fool the assistant principal, Edward Rooney. And quite frankly, if he picks Sloane up in what is his car, a POS, Ed Rooney would never believe it. So they steal, commandeer, borrow Cameron's father's Ferrari. Not just any Ferrari, a 1961 Ferrari 250 GT California Spider. It is so choice. And then they see Chicago in all its glory, top of the Sears Tower. They go to a Cubs game. They go to a place called Chez Louis for lunch,
Right.
where they eat pancreas.
That's what I thought he said. Yeah.
Yes, we ate pancreas. Now they have to end the day. But before they do, they take part in the German parade down Michigan Avenue, where Ferris Bueller sings.
Dankeschön, right?
That's one of the things he sings.
And Twist and Shout.
And Twist and Shout. And it is a wonderful, wonderful scene. And then
Joyous.
it's just spectacular. So then they have to get home, but before they do, they have to return the Ferrari and fool Cameron's dad into not thinking they drove it all over the city. Crisis ensues. Somehow the Ferrari escapes from what we now call the Ferris Bueller house, but it was actually Cameron Fry's dad's garage, and goes flying into the ravine. It is what 80s movies are all about. It's as funny as anything you're going to see. And the idea that we have the person who owns Cameron Fry / the Ferris Bueller house, gives me chills.
I can see the chills going
It's
through your body
true.
from here.
I hope people can hear them.
Yeah, I can hear them popping right over across the room.
I just think that Jeffrey Jones, who plays, I think he's the prince. Is he the assistant principal?
Ed Rooney.
I love him. He's so evil. He's so
in a kind of bureaucratic, technocratic kind of way. The rules must be followed.
Yep. Even if it means that I get mauled by a bulldog.
Yeah.
And
a Rottweiler.
He gets foiled.
The last scene on the bus, without a word, basically, was only the beginning of the end.
Yeah. I really hope they don't make a sequel. That would be very, very hard.
There's been talk
to beat. I mean, take the recent Ghostbusters sequel, please. Please take it. Not that there's anything wrong with a female cast, and I'm all about equality, but it's kind of like remaking Steel Magnolias with Adam Sandler, Tom Cruise, Chris Kattan, and Kenny Rogers.
Adam Sandler.
I mean, can you imagine Steel Magnolias with that cast?
Somebody's going to have an idea about that.
Right. Careful.
Okay.
You know who's listening.
Well, let's get our special guest on. Meghann Salamasick is an attorney in commercial litigation and corporate transactions, specifically in the area of commercial banking. So that means she has to watch after things so we don't have another mortgage crisis. Thank you, Meghann.
Good luck.
Yep. Meghann and her husband, Chris, are the owners of the famous Modernist Highland Park, Illinois house that was in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Welcome to the show, Meghann.
Thank you.
How you doing so far?
Oh, I'm good.
Are you still with us?
I'm still here.
Okay, buckle up, because we have a special little treat for you. We've been working on here in the studio, rehearsing, where rehearsing is in quotes. Here we go. Dankeschön, darling, Dankeschön. Thank you for all that joy and pain. Picture shows, second balcony, was the place we'd meet. Second seat, go Dutch Street. You were sweet.
You were sweet.
Dankeschön.
Dankeschön.
Darling, Dankeschön. Okay, that's enough. Yeah, okay. All right. Hi, Meghann.
Are you still with us?
So thanks for putting up with all our pre-show fanboy inertia. When did you first see the movie?
Oh, I can't. I mean, I grew up around Chicago, so probably when I was between 5 and 8 years old would be my guess. I have 2 older brothers, too, so I'm sure that it played in our house, but I can't remember. It's just one of those movies that you've grown up watching, right?
Right, sure.
It's kind of like a produced by the Chicago Tourist Board, practically.
Exactly.
It really is like all the highlights.
Exactly.
They must have loved it. I mean, the whole state must have just been thrilled about this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you have a connection to modern architecture as a young person, or did this come to you later in life?
No, it came to us later in life, and it was honestly somewhat of a fortuitous occurrence that we came to buy the house. We had looked, when we were looking for a home for something mid-century. There is not much of that on the North Shore of Chicago. It may not surprise anyone. And so we kind of settled, and instead of buying mid-century, we bought a 1924 Tudor Revival and reached the point of, okay, are we going to pull the trigger on renovating this, or should we look into something different or more in line with what we wanted that didn't require as much renovation, which was hilarious given the amount of renovation we've done. And so one Saturday morning, my husband was looking at real estate listings and said, well, what about the Ferris Bueller house? And we went to look at it, and at that point it had been on the market for almost 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, ironically, it was on the market when we bought the first house and then was still there when we swung back around a few years later. So we went to see it and fell in love with it. It was absolutely beautiful, despite its disrepair. And
why was it on the market for so long?
I think a few things. The house, when you walked into it when we bought it, it had not been touched since 1953 when it was constructed. So it had original windows, original kitchen, including one of the first Thermador double ovens and electric cooktops ever made.
Wow.
It had steel cabinetry with leftover World War II steel. That's what the beams were as well. And it just felt very, it's beautiful. You walk in and you're taken away by the views of the ravine and the forest, but you can tell that, you know, it will need some imagination, it will need some work. And I think, frankly, they had priced it too high for the square footage and for the amount of work that it would need. And so fortunately, we were lucky that we were able to buy it and then start a massive renovation and rehabilitation on it.
And as Bob told me earlier, you got a real deal. It was originally priced at $2.3 million, and you picked it up for less than half of that.
Right, a cool mill.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing, really.
Yeah.
It's hard to buy any kind of house in suburban Chicago for, that's...
Yeah, well, and, it's on a beautiful acre parcel of land, and it's a wonderful piece of property now that I think we've done the work on it that will hopefully make it last another 100 years. But moving into it at first was rough, to say the least.
Meghann, was there any sense of how careful you had to be with the restoration? Simply because, it is of its time. It's all part of that package. And it's also the Ferris Bueller house. So
yeah, and, we're familiar with rehabilitation standards. We hired architects who were familiar with those, were sensitive to them on our prior house, and sort of rolled them through into this house to work on this current one. And we went into it knowing that what we would be doing was not normal, simple. Almost nothing that went into that house came from Home Depot or Lowe's, to say the least. And we knew that we would have to be sensitive to it. And we really went into it with the goal to rehabilitate the property and put it to a condition where it was beautiful again and not just serviceable, which took some work. The original owners, and they were the only owners, had at one point put a wood frame garage in front of the house that blocked the house, half of the house's facade. So one of our primary objectives was to remove that, to open up the full front of the house so that you got sort of the grandeur of the cypress panel, full panel front of the house.
There was only one owner before you?
Yeah, it's interesting. The prior owner was Ben Rose, who was a textile designer in Chicago. He's very well known. So he designed fabrics, textiles, curtains, drapery all over Chicago. If you look him up, you will see his patterns everywhere. And we were actually fortunate that when we moved into the home, there were a few rooms that still had his panels in them, barely hanging on by a thread. And so we had those. The pavilion, the sort of second building, has his curtains that are still up in there and that have been preserved. So very notable family. They actually had a design competition for the house and opened it up to various architects around the Chicago area. And James Spire was the winning design. So we went to the Art Institute of Chicago, where he was a curator. And they actually have a file on the property that has his original design, which looks almost nothing like what it is now and what was eventually constructed. But it's fascinating to own a house that has, that much history that you can see that much of it.
So James Spire, who was he?
He was a student of Mies van der Rohe. So the house has a very museum style to it, albeit it's, significantly more industrial looking than I think most museum styles would be. And he has only designed 2 homes, the other of which is in our neighborhood as well, and was thereafter a curator for the Art Institute of Chicago. So one of his projects there was to develop kind of a cache of blueprints and plans for historical buildings and homes in the Chicago area. So if you go there, you can look up a lot of the interesting and notable homes and buildings around Chicago and see blueprints and correspondence related to them. We were able to see a paint sample from the original design and telegrams going back and forth between him and the Roses on decisions that were being made.
Oh, man. So this was, when was this, 1953?
Yeah, 1953.
And so I guess he stopped designing houses shortly after that?
If you only did 2, it wasn't very long.
Okay, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, he got that gig at the museum.
Yeah, and I'm sure, it was probably a regular salaried, non-controversial job versus, being an architect has some level of up and down and risk. And he built our house. He built a house around the corner from us that is a similar style, but on a much simpler scale. It's not on stilts. It's flat, one level, but that's sort of the universe of what he's created. And from there, I think really spent a lot of his career preserving the work of other architects.
We have this just in from our ace researcher, Cindy Stratton. James Spire studied at Carnegie Tech, now Carnegie Mellon, and he studied the Beaux-Arts tradition of architecture and design, very classic, but he was disgruntled with it, didn't like it, and went to Europe in 1934, which was a very changing time.
Great place to be in the 30s.
This is where the Bauhaus was going, and all the avant-garde architects were trying to free buildings from the heavy burden of ornament and symmetrical planning. He began friendships with Edgar Kaufman, whose father commissioned Frank Lloyd Wright to design Fallingwater.
Kaufman House.
Yep. And he also got into a great crowd, including Alfred Barr, John McAndrew of the Museum of Modern Art, and Walter Gropius, who would eventually come to Harvard and lead the Harvard Graduate School of Design into fame. So he was in some good company.
Yeah, absolutely.
Meghann, tell me, on one of your visits to the Art Institute of Chicago, you stood in front of the painting that Cameron stood in front of Sunday afternoon on the island of La Grande Jatte and just peered into that little girl's face. Tell me that, please.
We have not yet. Unfortunately, we went over sort of with the unilateral focus of getting into the files and pulling as much out of them as we could for the rehabilitation to make sure that we were on track with it.
Well, sometime you should enjoy the paintings, because that's a big one. So
it's one of the pivotal scenes.
Yes. Because we had to hold Bob back from doing a scene-by-scene description.
Can you discuss pointillism?
Yes. He's going to wiggle it in sort of through the conversation.
Yeah.
Plus, there's this great version of the Smiths song. It makes me weep, that scene. It really kind of does.
I know. And it's like, I think I can see the weeping from here. It's like there's a whole cadre of people out there that I know that can recite the Caddyshack movie. Almost.
Oh, I'm one of those too.
Are you one of those too?
Oh, sure.
Are you in the Caddyshack genre?
I used to work at a place, and the guy I shared an office with another guy. He brought in a sound recording. He was an engineer. He dubbed the audio, and we would listen to it during the day. We didn't have the greatest job.
Yeah. Well, Bob is on OCD medicine now, so he's recovering from this pretty well. The family, the Roses, they owned it for over 50 years, and I guess the movie was filmed while they owned it.
Yeah.
Did you hear any interesting stories of that time and that experience?
So we did. So they originally, the producers had asked them to film it in the main house. So what you're seeing in the movie is not the main structure. That is an ancillary, the David Haid Pavilion. And they basically said, no, we don't want that level of intrusion into our personal residence, but you could do it back in the pavilion. And
was this before or after they found out about the scene with the car?
I don't know how that was communicated.
Okay. Well, go on.
But so they agreed to it, and they let them put in sort of the crash glass, and they filmed that scene by putting essentially roller coaster tracks out the side of the pavilion, and then rolling the car out through, and then they replaced the panel of glass for them. So they were living there at the time. I think they had children, although they would have been significantly older at that point, living there. And I don't know that the movie had quite the cash for them that it does for everyone else. And I wish I could ask them sort of what their take on it was.
Mm-hmm. Did they actually destroy a Ferrari, or was that all special effects?
No. So it's interesting you asked that. There was not room in the budget for that movie to buy the Ferrari. So instead, they custom built a car that looked like the Ferrari to use. So those cars that were used in the movie are extremely valuable. So my husband will not be getting one for Father's Day, to say the least.
Does he know this? Is he going to hear? Yeah. Are we breaking news here?
Yeah.
Well, he did go on a mission to find out who owned them, because he thought that could be a market for selling the house if we ever wanted to.
Yeah.
But
oh, yeah. Buy the Ferrari, get a house for free.
Right.
Well,
Yeah, exactly.
I believe the Ferrari, last we saw it, was upside down behind the house, emitting smoke.
The fake one. Yeah.
Yeah, the fake one.
Yeah, exactly. So I think they crashed a fake car, but those rebuilds were not inexpensive either. But there are only, I think, a handful of the actual Ferrari in the world right now.
Because they had to drive it around the streets, I guess, some stuntman or whoever.
And that was a rebuild. That was not.
And those parking garage attendants.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, you're part of what sounds like a very proper organization, or were the Chicago Historic Preservation Commission?
It's actually Highland Park, so it's
Highland
the
Park.
town that we live in, yeah.
Okay. Are you still on that?
I am.
And are you like chief commissioner of this by now?
I am. I'm the chair, which I don't know if that's a blessing or a curse. But
Don't commissioners get the bat signal?
Yeah. Commissioner Gordon has to send up a flare.
Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, I think what I get is people who are just a little unhappy that they can't do whatever they want with their property. Although, as a commission, we're very supportive of anybody who wants to rehabilitate a historic home. And so kind of bend over backwards to work with people and help them get to that goal to make their house livable and functional.
So what does the commission do?
So we have a few functions. Our primary function is to spread awareness about historic preservation, educate the community. Highland Park has a really big population of historic homes. We have a lot of locally landmarked homes, state landmarked homes, and federally landmarked. And so kind of making the neighbors aware of that value within their own neighborhood. And then we also, beyond the landmarked homes, anytime that a resident wants to demolish a home, we do a review of that home to make sure that it's not historically significant. And if it was, we would delay the demolition to see if either we can undertake a preservation effort, find an alternate buyer, or at least sort of preserve records of the home and photograph it and make sure that, you know, if there was a significant home that was taken down, that there was a record that it was there.
Now, you do have a number of modernist houses in the area. They're not plentiful, but you've got some Frank Lloyd Wrights around, right?
Right, we do. Around the corner from us, we have some Frank Lloyd Wrights. We have a number of Kecks and Van Bergens. The neighborhoods are very rich with historical homes. And frankly, Highland Park, the people that live in the community have done a fantastic job of preserving them and caring for them.
There are 4 houses, I think 4 or 5, by an architect named Edward Lowenstein, who started his career in Highland Park and then moved here to North Carolina. And we found all his houses about 4 years ago from Highland Park. Mm-hmm. They're on our website. I'll have to send them to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You may not know of their origins, but he was working for another firm and put these together. They're not modern. They're very sort of classic 1930s editions. But he came down here and became the architect laureate in Greensboro of some fantastic moderns, probably 35 of them in the Greensboro area.
Do we have an architect laureate position?
Well, I think they talked about it at one time.
Like the poet laureate?
Like an official. We don't have an official state designation, but informally he was the bard for a long time.
It was like pitmaster laureate
for
barbecue.
Right. Kind of shows you where our priorities are in North Carolina. Not that there's anything wrong with pitmasters.
Yeah.
God bless them.
God bless.
Meghann, do you get people making pilgrimages to your home?
We do, and it's interesting because the home is situated on a street with a bridge, so a lot of people like to stand on the bridge and take pictures. It gives you a really good view of both of the homes. Unfortunately, we've also had some trespassers, and it's interesting because people get a little bit upset when you tell them that they cannot come on the property. But the pavilion, the back building, has a grate across it that does not have sides on it. And so we're concerned from a safety perspective. And up until a month ago, it was an open construction site. So we've had to be a little bit careful about visitors and making sure that it's safe and that we don't have trespassers when we're not there.
But the view from the bridge is pretty good to get a photo, right?
It is. It's a beautiful straight-on shot view of the pavilion. So,
say a certain podcast co-host showed up one day, just kind of, I just want to, I don't want to.
Bob, does the word taser mean
anything? I don't want to overstep. But say,
she is an attorney, Bob.
I went to the top of the Sears Tower, and then say I went to the Cubs game, and then I somehow got myself into the German-American parade, and I'd had one last stop, theoretically.
Theoretically. A friend of mine is asking.
Right, asking for a friend.
Yeah.
Now, the part of the house that we saw that was in the movie is the smaller part, and you referred earlier to them having erected a garage in front of the house. that you took down. So what we see in the movie as the garage is not actually the garage, or is it?
So it's very interesting. The Roses were antique car collectors. And when I say antique cars, I mean 1920s racing roadsters and 30s. So Ben Rose built the pavilion as a showroom for those cars.
Oh, that is so cool.
And you can drive back to it. It has big bay doors that open.
Right.
When we moved in, we were fortunate enough. There were a number of his hand sketches of his cars that we were still just sort of taped to the wall, that we pulled and framed those. And we did try to take a pickup truck back there and hit a tree, so there's been some ingrowth, but it is still drivable back there. Part of the sort of landscape plan is to make that drivable again and put a good turf that you can drive back on it. But then for sort of everyday purposes, they had just erected a wood frame garage out front so that they could pull a car in and out on an everyday basis.
Okay, so that really is a purpose-built pavilion for cars. It is a garage.
In the Roses' later years, and just imagine how the neighbors knew this, they have relayed that the Roses love to paint arts, particularly nude art. So, big glass box.
Wow. Neighbors with binoculars, perhaps?
I don't know. So, at least we now know what the neighbors can see out there.
Yeah.
So, where did all the nude art end up?
I really hope I never find that out. My husband was a little disappointed because when we first looked at the house, in that wood frame garage was a big box marked vintage Playboy, and I think he was hoping those would still be there when we moved in, but no luck.
Oh,
like paintings?
No, well,
Playboy magazines.
Oh, Playboy magazines. Oh, yes, okay.
Could have paid for your renovations, probably.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
As Ferris said in the movie, he should have locked the garage.
Thank you, Bob.
So how long have you had the house?
Since June of 2014.
Not very long.
Yeah. So we lived in it for about 2.5 years. We moved out in February of 2017 to start the renovation, and we moved back in about 3 weeks ago.
And tell us about the renovations, because I understand it involved digging a giant trench.
Yes. So when we took that garage down, we did not want to put anything back up above grade. And our architects were willing to entertain my husband's sort of fantastical ideas about how to achieve that. So what we did was put the house onto metal and wood cribbing, dig a basement underneath it, and in front of it, put in a 3,000 square foot underground garage.
Oh,
like a
baby.
bat cave.
Yeah. The ultimate man cave.
The ultimate man cave. So now you have nothing above grade other than sort of the two glass buildings, the house and the pavilion. And you drive down a very steep ramp into an underground garage that connects through to a basement underneath the house, and you come up in the foyer.
Cool.
How many square feet is this?
So the house is 3,000 square feet. The underground portion of it is 3,000 square feet. So it's approximately the same size as the house.
How many cars can you get in this man cave?
I believe 6. So
6.
The reason it was that size was because we wanted to be able to safely turn around in the garage and drive back up the ramp.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Especially in the winter.
And so it has a heated driveway so that snow and ice won't accumulate. And it's large enough that we can safely do sort of a 3-point turn in it to pull a car up.
It really is kind of a stately Wayne Manor and just a modern design. I mean, if you've got all those features. Mm-hmm. I would imagine you needed that car turntable in the middle of this that you drive it on and it turns the car around like Batman had.
Or like what they do with the cable cars in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Well, and actually I was pushing hard for a car elevator because I think it might have been less expensive than a huge underground pit. But I was told once you're digging a hole, just keep digging. So, okay.
No, I think the phrase is quit digging.
Have you heard rumors about a Ferris Bueller remake?
I have not, but I sure hope they don't do that.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it was such a classic.
It's a perfect movie in its own right. It doesn't need more.
Say there were a remake and they knocked on your door and said, "We have to use your house." It just makes sense.
But this time, Matthew Broderick rolls out in his wheelchair and falls out the window.
That's a way to go. Would you be agreeable or semi-agreeable or?
I think we would be agreeable. I mean, it's pop culture history. I think we would want some, script reading ability to make sure that it's actually a worthwhile remake, though.
Yeah, you don't want some piece of schlock.
Exactly.
That's good.
And I must say that when I first heard that this was the Ferris Bueller house, I thought about Ferris's house in the movie, which is pretty ugly.
Very conventional house, yeah.
This is really his buddy Cameron's house, and but much more memorable.
And now, Bob, would you like to give the speech?
Meghann, do you ever go out into the pavilion and redo the Cameron speech at the end where he says, "I will not sit on my ass while the events of my life unfold before me," and then you kick a car out the window?
Well, we don't have an abundance of cars or windows right now, so that is a limiting factor.
But if you did,
But if I did,
All right.
I think that speech probably would help in the last few months of the project. If delays happen and no one seems that motivated, that would probably help.
Yeah, but it's done now, right?
It is not. So we are probably about 90% of the way done. And they are, when you do a rehabilitation of this sort, just things continually pop up. So they're working through a rather extensive punch list at this point, much to my cat's dismay, as they have to be locked in one of the basement rooms.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Can you not lock them in the 3,000 square foot subterranean pit?
No, but we tried to do that to my dog this morning, and he almost took the door out. So we won't do that again.
So when do you expect it'll be finished up?
I think we were probably about a month or two from final completion.
Okay.
Well, good luck.
And did you have a hard time finding the right kinds of subcontractors to do this work on this special kind of house?
We did. The first contractor that we asked for a bid took about 8 weeks to get the bid back. And I think it's because he just kept looking at the plan and going, how do I go about that? And then the contractor that we hired took one look at it and said, oh, yeah, you just put cribbing up and then dig. And he said some contractor-y words I don't know and was very confident about things. And so he was hired.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Sometimes they say contractory words and they do a terrible job. So,
and then they say, this will be done in 2 weeks.
We did have that. The 9-month project did turn into a 2.5-year project. So.
Yeah, that can occur.
Mm-hmm.
What's the hardest part of the project to do technically? Is it the pit digging or something else?
The pit digging, I think, was hard, but they seemed to roll through that pretty quickly. One of the hardest factors was the windows. When we moved in, we discovered the first winter that the house would not heat above 52 degrees in January because there was so many
Modernist houses, all the glass.
So it's funny, when the listing agent told us that it only cost $3,000 a year in utilities, but left out that did not get it above 52 degrees, which is a significant omission.
That's a great realtor trick.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
If you don't count heat.
Exactly.
Fur coat's not included.
But so the windows were sort of a single pane 1953 glass clad with a wood and aluminum surround. And it's funny, you were asking, do people stop by? We had somebody who is a bird preservationist stop by and let us know that our house is one of the biggest bird killers in Illinois because they fly into it. So we decided to source bird glass from Germany that has a pattern in it that you can't really see, but that prevents the birds from flying into it. And they sent over, all of these panes of thermal double bird glass that our poor contractor then had to retrofit into the stainless steel window frames and rebuild all of the hopper windows and the screens, and sort of everything was a custom rebuild on the windows. So I think that was probably the hardest.
I wish we'd had that back in the 60s. I grew up in a modernist house in Durham with a big picture window it was a second story at the back of the house. And I had to bury all the birds that were in the backyard on the ground. That was depressing.
It is. It's sad. And it's funny because when you look at the glass the right way, it has sort of a web pattern to it. And my 3-year-old's obsessed with Spider-Man. So one day he looked at it and went, "Mama, there's webs in the glass."
That's
Very
great.
exciting.
I'm so glad they came up with that.
Yeah,
That's a great idea. But were you tipped off by all the carcasses outside your house when you bought it?
We weren't, because it's in a ravine, so it's in a forest. So we, in addition to the birds, we have coyotes and raccoons, and nature just sort of takes its course out there.
And did the
So we
coyotes
didn't-
throw themselves at the windows too?
No, but they do sleep underneath the house, and my dog thinks that they're coming to play with him, so he gets all excited, and we have to break it to him that he's not going outside.
Yeah, that probably wouldn't be too hospitable to your dog. Well, Meghann, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for taking time out of your banking attorney day to join us.
It's been wonderful talking with you, Meghann.
Sure.
You've been listening to an encore presentation of U.S. Modernist Radio, underwritten by Diane Bald and the Bubman family, restoring significant architecture in Toronto, Los Angeles, Malibu, and Palm Springs. Visit USModernist.org's massive archives to listen to past shows, discover documentation of 25,000 significant modernist houses, and access 5 million pages of classic 20th century architecture magazines. U.S. Modernist Radio is produced by Soundtracks Recording Studios in Raleigh, North Carolina. Our theme song was performed by George Smart and Robinson Earl, with guest research by Bobby Morris. Got a guest to suggest for the show? Write her at bobby@usmodernist.org. That's BOBBIE at usmodernist.org. U.S. Modernist Radio is a production of Modernist Archive Incorporated, a nonprofit educational archive for the documentation, preservation, and promotion of modernist residential design. I'm Tom Guile. Listen to any of our over 400 shows at usmodernist.libsyn.com, with Libsyn spelled Libsyn.